Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
And there's something I want the listeners to know before we get started. Does anyone here have the information that I want the listeners to know for 5 points?
Well, there's two different pieces of information that I think are pertinent here. One is in regards to where they can download episodes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a link in the description.
Yes.
And you can find old episodes on the playlist on the channel, so go there and do that.
And what can they do with old episodes?
They can on
the playlist.
Yeah.
You can leave a comment on old episodes that you would like to download, and I will upload it to the hosting website for you and let you know. I'm gonna get everybody down with it. They're all gonna be able to fire it off.
We're gonna get this eventually.
Yeah, exactly. You got to study harder, boys. This is History Month.
But it's nearly over, so ha.
Pop quiz, special episode, posted November 29th.
Teaching Rasco and Kieran how to get fucking advertisement right.
Yeah, right. Fucking branding matters. Anyway, Kieran picked our send-off topic, which is a review topic. Kieran, what are we talking about for the final episode of Geeky Gentleman History?
Today we're reviewing anime. Please hold your shocked responses. We are reviewing the first 5 episodes of an anime called Fate Zero.
Mm-hmm. And this is, it's certainly not like hard history like we've talked about, but it's okay because we've done stuff that's like period or uses historical figures.
It is supernatural history, and for the listeners that do not know what Fate Zero is about, to give you the skimming of what Fate Zero is about, it takes place in modern Japan during an event that happens once every 6 years called the Holy Grail War, where mages that have been selected by said Holy Grail can summon epic legendary heroes from the past. So think Arturia Pendragon, Alexander the Great, Gilgamesh, and many, many others to fight in glorious combat for them. And the last surviving master and servant pair that survive the Holy Grail War can obtain the Holy Grail and have whatever wish or desire they want to be granted.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when Rasco and I were talking about whether or not to do fan film reviews for History Month, we brought up the idea of how much does fantasy count, because there are obviously like a lot of fantasy things that are set in a Middle Age era, but it's just pure fantasy. It's making up its own world, and so it didn't feel appropriate. But this is something where it is really on that line because it's using either actual historical myths or actual historical figures, but using them in a fantastical way. And since we started out History Month doing a review of DC Bombshells, that's perfectly appropriate to me.
I totally planned this ahead of time.
Yeah, totally. Not at all. So I don't know. It's really interesting way to send it off because I don't mind historical fiction. It's kind of neat to see, this old world meets new world kind of dynamic between some of the characters and all the fascinating stuff that happens in anime anyway that, like, is really... it's funny, we're only reviewing the first 5 episodes, which is, like, I think just about the perfect amount for an anime, because often in the first episode, you're just like, fucking take all the exposition! Just take it all up your butt, down your throat, and every fucking
your
orifice.
fucking nostril and your ear holes in your fucking mouth.
Yeah, fucking everything is just, you're getting, like, tentacle raped by exposition.
Yeah.
And, like, that's always, like, at the beginning of every anime, but then once you got past all that, it actually starts getting really fucking interesting. So, I know kind of how I feel on this one. I'm really, really curious how Rasco felt about this.
Okay, so I'm not, like, a huge anime fan by any means. Like, I've seen some anime, but, like, I'm a total noob. But this is something, I've seen this title a million times before. So I knew what this was as soon as he said the title, so I was really interested to finally see this. And I actually like this. I actually really like this. And I'm probably going to watch the rest of this just because, like,
Rasco, I love you.
I just need to see what happens now.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it, too. It's only one season, basically, right, Kieran?
Technically it's 2 seasons. There are 13 episodes in the first season, 12 in the second.
Okay, but it's the 26 episodes that are available on Netflix are the entirety of it. Then.
Yes, and then you've got a similar thing with its sequel series, Fate Stay Night, which takes place 5 years after the events of Fate Zero.
Interesting. Okay, it's too bad I didn't have a little bit more like foreknowledge about this, because I was talking to Comics Kid, who both of you remember from your season who reviews the reviewers, and he's a big King Arthur fan, so I was really, really curious what his take on this would be.
I fucking love The Legend of Arturia Pendragon. So fucking good.
Yeah, it's just a really, like, I was really shocked by it. Like, when you first see the sheath of Excalibur, you're like, oh, okay, cool, so King Arthur is going to be among them. And then it's like the perfect ending to that first episode when the champions are all revealed, and it's fucking a girl that comes out of the King Arthur relic. And it's like, holy shit.
I love how they address it too, because then the next episode you have Iris, Phil, and Sabro, and Iris is just like, we were kind of surprised by your appearance because so many legends have depicted you as a man. And she's like, well, it's true that I had to dress like a man in my time period because they didn't accept women doing stuff like that. But, it shouldn't be that surprising. And it's like, well, in this day and age, it is.
Yeah. I don't know, it was just like a really, really cool twist that I didn't see coming, and I like, it's so rare, I think, at least in anime I've seen, to find women who are portrayed as not being incredibly submissive, as not being...
Oh, yeah, like, take aside my immediate bias, because for those who do not know, I have some other anime, but the Fate series in general, including Zero and Stay Night, is like one of my favourites ever. Like, this is like up the top. So it's really great that it can fit this into History Month, because I was so excited for talking about this. And
yeah, I really like that they're able to portray, a strong, independent woman.
Yeah, exactly. And my favorite character,
King Arthur of all people.
Yeah, exactly. My favorite character in this entire show, and one of my favorite characters of all time, is Saber. She is like amazing. And when you guys get later down the line, especially, there is an episode called the Grail Dialogue, where the 3 kings, because 3 of these 7 heroes are actually kings, and you've met them already, Arturia Pendragon, Alexander the Great, and Gilgamesh. All 3 of them.
I want to talk about Alexander.
He's fucking great. But all...
He is, but I'm annoyed by something in that.
Ooh, I'm interested. All 3 of them are kings, and then there's an episode when they all decide to just sit down and talk about who should, like, by right, earn the Grail, just by who's the best king kind of thing. And it's a great episode because you earn a lot of different things between them, but they use the actual legends as backstory. So Saber gets some great character development because of the battles that she's gone through. And it's really good. Like, for example, Gilgamesh criticizes them all on kings by saying he's the one true king, he was the first, so everything by law it belongs to him. Alexander the Great criticizes Saber for being a king because she says she goes off and she fought, all those battles for her people, for a thing, but did she know what she was fighting for? She just said the people all the time, so she chucked her army, she chucked her men into unnecessary battles, and thus you are no true king, you're just a girl playing dress up.
Nice.
which is great.
Yeah, my thing with Alexander is this is more just generally a point on translation in anime, and as someone that's been watching through Dragon Ball Z and like posting my thoughts here and there on Twitter, basically the like justification I'm always given is, oh, that's a translation thing and yada yada. And while I do understand that there are some things that like are purposefully changed for censorship reasons, essentially, there are other things that are like, okay, that's just a stupid decision. And so, like, I think a lot of anime fans in the English-speaking world have this kind of idea in the back of their head that the original way in which it was written is how it should be translated, should never be changed beyond just changing the language.
Which is weird.
Yeah, and that's a really stupid thing, and it's particularly stupid here with Alexander the Great's name.
What, Scandal?
It's Iskandar.
That.
Because that is the way that's just the spelling that's used in the East. There's no reason, since everything else in this is just English, as far as the translation is concerned, it should not just be Alexander. It's a stupid translation.
You're just a racist.
Yeah, I guess so. But like, it's one of those things with this idea of the purist translation kind of crap. No, that's a stupid thing to do. It's like when people translate Dracula. Mm-hmm. It'd be like if you had an entire movie where instead of calling him Dracula or Vlad or whatever,
you called him Alucard.
They called him King of Dragons.
King of Dragons.
It would make no sense. It's like, no, you're missing the point. You're translating the name. It doesn't need to be translated. You're just using, it's the same name, you're just using the different pronunciation. That's stupid. You're already translating everything else to English. That's stupid. So yeah, that annoyed me, but otherwise, Alexander, and that's what I'm gonna fucking call him, Alexander is fucking awesome.
Oh, you know, Ryder. You could call him Ryder.
No.
Yeah,
Alexander.
I'm gonna refer to them all by their generic names or their class names.
Well, no, I kind of do.
Just because.
I don't like that, actually. I wish they used their proper names a little bit more, because that's what made it so cool to me, was this idea. Like, I remember specifically this game that came out when I was a kid that, like, never really took off, but it was always a really unique idea. It was like this basically it was a bunch of action figures with, like, rules of combat, so it was kind of like action figures meets trading cards. Mm-hmm. And the narrative behind it was aliens on this, like, gambling world abducted warriors from Earth from different time periods and put them all on the same battlefield to fight each other. So you could have, like, a samurai versus a knight and yada yada yada.
That kind of sounds cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was a cool idea. I don't think it ever went anywhere.
Oh.
But, like, that's kind of the same concept in one way, shape, or form that's going on here. So I really wish they had used the proper names of these people.
What I like, though, is kind of a lot of the time they give very good reasons for why they can't. So, e.g., if you say the name of who you're addressing in the middle of battle, that's giving away your weakness to the enemy.
Yeah, I see. That's why I kind of thought it was cool.
Because it's the Secret War, so it's like, if Iris feels called Saber, King Arthur, don't do that, then immediately, oh shit, she has Excalibur, let's back off. And again, that's the entire point of why she keeps the sword invisible using wind magic.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I would have preferred if they
They use it sometimes when the masters and the servants are in private, like you see Tokiyami call Gilgamesh by Gilgamesh and not Archer.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, I would have preferred more, generally. Like, because that was a writing choice, then, to make it a secret. And I would
to make it secret, because the war itself is secret, because, like, if you know who you're fighting, that's a big advantage on enemy's part. Like, when Lancer says, when Saber and him met, he's a very honourable person, and the first thing he says, I hate these rules because I'd like to properly, like a knight, say my name to my opponent, but I can't.
Wait, who is Lancer? Is Lancer Lancelot?
Lancer is the person with the two spears. Or the two staffs or
the
whatever.
legend. Lancer is the Irish hero of Fiore Diarmuid Odine.
Okay.
And he's my favorite character in the whole thing. He's so
fucking
cool.
Great.
He's so cool.
He's fucking great.
And I gotta say, I don't know a lot of these guys. Like,
I don't either.
You know, the murderous dude with the creepy, like, wonky eyes says, "Oh, why don't we just call me Bluebeard?" And I had to, like, fucking Wikipedia that shit. So, like, a lot of these were really stretching. I've vaguely heard stories about Hassan and his League of Assassins.
His League of Assassins, yeah. Which is,
yeah,
I love how they work in...
vague stories about them, but I didn't know, I wouldn't be able to tell you anything besides, there was a guy called Hassan who had a bunch of assassins.
And he was Indian. Is like a really interesting thing I want to quickly bring up, and then maybe like we'll go episode by episode. But like one thing I really love is the noble phantasms, the special abilities, and how it ties into the legend. So I love the reveal of Assassin's Noble Phantasm, because we think he's dead, and then boom, there's like a ton of assassins, which is reference to all his League of Assassins. Mm-hmm. Which is great, and I love how they use that from a strategy standpoint. They know that everyone's going to watch that first fight, so they assume Assassin's dead. So now they can just use all these assassins however they want to. Sneak attacks from behind, anywhere they want.
Yeah, that's really clever. I thought that was a great twist. Just the way that they kind of build this world of mages and stuff was really fascinating.
How they introduced Gilgamesh was brilliant, because he annihilated that assassin. Fucked him up big time.
Yeah, I really like the mages, and, you know, don't tell me if they do it, but something I would love to see them do is, since we know mages exist in this world, and we know King Arthur existed in this world, I really, 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 really hope that we connect it back to Merlin.
Not gonna...
That'd be so cool.
I'm going to stay quiet and not say anything.
So you're either staying quiet because they do, or
they
you're staying
don't.
quiet because they don't.
Yeah, that's the idea. Make you guess.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and go episode by episode. Rasko, you've been kind of the most quiet so far, so why don't you give us your thoughts on the first episode of the series?
Okay, yeah. So the first episode both scared the shit out of me, because I was like, oh my god, I feel like I need to be taking notes so I can like create a little like rule book of all the rules that we've been given and shit like that. I'm just like, what the hell? How am I supposed to understand what's going on? But somehow by the end of the episode, once they finally like summon all of their people, I guess, I was immediately like, oh, okay, all of the rules kind of somewhat make a little bit of sense now, and it makes sense to me, so I can get on board with this. So the first episode scared me, because I was afraid that I was not going to be able to keep up with what was going on, but at the same time, it pulled me in, and it did a good job of hooking me, because as soon as I realized, like, what the game was, then I was like, okay, now I can at least somewhat understand what at least is going on, and what the competition even is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a very similar reaction, where I was kind of like, I wasn't, tuning in and out so much as I was just like, okay, wait, what? Huh? Who's this? And, just generally speaking, foreign names are always really hard for me to keep in my head. I've been reading Grant Morrison's 18 Days for well over a year now, and I still can only give you, like, 3 of the main characters' names, because they're all, like, proper Indian names. There's just stuff like that that's really hard for me to keep up with, so I was glad that, for the most part, a lot of the characters didn't look alike, though there are 3 that I'm just really glad that one dude wears a cross.
What, Kira?
Yeah, I'm glad the one dude wears a cross, and I'm glad the other dude's hair turns white, because otherwise, shit.
Oh yeah, the father and son.
Yeah, like, 3 of those dudes look really fucking similar, and that's, like, just, come on, character design standpoint, get your shit together. So I had a little bit of trouble, like, keeping pins in who everybody was, but it's just such an interesting idea in and of itself, and it does such a good job of just leaving you with an absolutely oh shit moment at the end of that episode with King Arthur being a woman, that you're like, okay, now I gotta fucking see more of this.
Not with just King Arthur being a woman, but I'll get to like the actual episode itself. But that final scene of just all of them doing the summoning chant, and then the end reveal of just all of them. That's like one of my favorite scenes in anime, because I think that's so well done, and I love how the music builds at the end when she just goes, "I ask you, are you worthy to be my master?"
Yeah, that's what she says. That's such a fucking ball-dropping line.
Especially makes sense too, because she's a king, and she's not going to say, "Oh, am I worthy to be your servant?" No, are you fucking worthy to be my master? Because I'm King Arthur, bitch.
Totally. I fucking loved a lot of that. The first episode is, I do think, though, the hardest to
get into, because
through.
it's a double length, and it's got one gigantic mission. The gigantic mission is to introduce not really the servants, but all of the masters. Not just introduce them, introduce who they are, what they're about, what their backstory is, and most importantly, because it's the driving force of everything, what is their motivation for getting involved in the war? Why do they want to take part? And even technically, it does a really good job, but doesn't do all of them. Why? Because the seventh master, the one that summons Castor, gets pushed to the second episode.
Yeah, I was about to say,
and he's the scariest thing ever.
He's the greatest thing ever.
He's the scariest thing ever, dude. I was like, what the heck? That was a great introduction. That was a great introductory scene.
Hey, Ian, do you want me to blow your mind?
Go for it.
From the Encyclopedia Kieran of things that I remember, stupid stuff. Alright, you know the serial killer that summons Castor?
Yeah.
The one that kills kids, women, and whatnot? Voice actor, Vash the Stampede.
Really?
Yep, the pacifist.
Ah, that's really funny, actually.
Yeah, it's great.
Phil, my buddy Phil and I used to play a game where we'd talk about like superhero movies and then base whatever like actor was playing the superhero. That's what that character was doing before they became the superhero. So like Batman was, murdering people in New York because Christian Bale in American Psycho, and Iron Man was sucking dick for coke because of Less Than Zero, and
real life.
So
I like that a lot. Right.
And so just like shit like that, and like Green Lantern was getting body switched with the dude from Arrested Development and all this other shit. So I guess by that logic, Vash the Stampede finally fucking broke and just became a serial killer.
Yeah, and then suddenly got involved in the magic war. Is an interesting question I'd like to pose to you guys. Just based off the first episode, who is your favorite, not servant, but favorite mage? So favorite master?
It's kind of hard not to say the guy that ends up controlling Berserker, just because like
he's got
dude's doing
the best
everything
motivation. He's got the best motivation. Which one thing I like about the Fate series in general. You'll get onto this when you watch more of the series and when you get onto Stay Night. But I love how, except for one character, and I'll get into in a minute, there is no antagonist, there is no protagonist. There is just characters, and you could define them as people because they have good traits and they have bad traits. You can't point to a single person and say he is pure good and he is pure evil, because they all have good motives to what they want, or selfish motives but good ways of doing it around. For example, Kitsugu Emiya, the one that controls Saber, wants to literally rid the world of war, but he is of the defined object that he will do whatever he needs to achieve that goal, and the ends justify the means. And this is actually an acronym that he used later in the series. He will gladly kill 300 people to save... Sorry, he'll gladly kill 300 people to save 400 people. That's the kind of logic he uses. And you can see the logic in that, and again, the motive is good, but how he goes about it, that's sketchy. How do you kind of go about that? And Cardia is a great example. He wants to help his niece. He wants to help this broken family apart. But he's going into dark arts, he's fucking up his body, he's making himself a sacrifice, which that's not healthy, that's not good. And everyone has that, and even the servants have that, which is a really cool dynamic. The only one person...
How about you, Rasko? Who's your favorite mage?
My favorite is the person who is the master of Alexander the Great.
Waver.
Oh, like the kid?
Yeah, the kid. He's my favorite.
From England.
Yeah, I really like his motivation because...
Wants to be recognized.
But I just love how he has this desire to prove that, like, if you can work hard, you can overcome any sort of, like, hereditary disadvantage, I guess. Mm-hmm. And, like, he just wants to be recognized on what he can do, not on anyone else before him in his family lineage, I guess. And so it's kind of a small, petty reason, but I understand why it would drive him to be the way that he is, I guess.
Yeah, I was actually really about to bring up, again, that's the great thing about the dynamic. You've just listed a really good motive the kid has, but when you look at the grand things, it's selfish, it's small, and it's petty.
Yeah, and I love that he gets, like, slapped around by Alexander the Great.
Oh, that's a running thing. He constantly gets flicked in the head.
I just love whenever he fucks with the kid. It is the funniest thing. Like, when the episode where I think it's in the 5th episode, but we'll get to that episode later. But like when he pulls the kid up and he's just got like a blank expression on his face and he's just like dead.
Man,
I just started. That was so funny to me. I just couldn't stop laughing when that happened. Just pulls his body up and he says absolutely nothing and then he lowers him down. I thought it was hilarious.
No, he pulls him up and then Alexander's like, I really wish you would man up sometime.
Yeah.
Right. One thing that I think is also really cool is the dynamic between the Master and Servants, because this is actual, like, not rule, but, like, actual magic, like, quota, because the Grail is sentient, first off, in fact. That's how it goes about choosing the Masters. And the requirements for summoning, like, if you want to go stats here, requirements to summoning a servant is 2 things. One, you need, obviously, a magic seal. You need a command seal. 2, you need enough mana to summon the class you want, because it goes from weakest to strongest: caster, assassin, rider, berserker, lancer, saber, archer, with archer being the top. As you can tell from Gilgamesh, because he owns everything. So if you want a certain class, you have to be stronger than the rest of them. So the strongest mage gets the archer. The second strongest gets the saber, whatnot. Now, what hero determines what class you get? Because there's a lot of archers in the world, there's a lot of sabers in the world. That is actually something you can't change. It's your personality. Because whoever you get is the opposite of you. Kintsugi wants to go ends by justify the means, so he summons a really noble hero who thinks she can save everyone. Waver wants to be recognised, so he summons a big, bombastic, loud guy you can't stop but not recognise all the time. So, like, it's the opposite of everything you get, and later on they kind of go with the opposites, like, at the moment you don't have much character for Berserker, because he's insane, but eventually you'll see what the opposite between him and Kari is when you know who he is.
Who's Berserker, by the way?
Not spoiler.
Okay.
The Black Mist is supposed to keep his identity secret. Like, if you know who he is, you could actually beat him really easy.
Okay. No, that's cool.
I think everyone else is not a secret. Assassin is Hassan. Caster is... Fuck, what's his actual name? It's not Bluebeard.
I don't know. I looked it up. He was like some kind of French
he was a French,
serial killer.
He was a French serial killer. What was his name? I'm going to have to think of it later. Rider is Alexander the Great. Berserker, spoiler. Lancers, Diarmid, Odinay. Saber is Arturia Pendragon. And Gilgamesh is Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh is, like, hilariously pompous.
He is amazing. And again, what's really great is because you look at that base character and you would think, oh, he's a dick with no redeemable qualities. When you get on Day Long, he has many redeemable qualities. It's just, again, it comes down to the people, and they have the different perspectives at looking at things. Like, one trait he has, I won't tell you what the other traits he has. One trait is really noble. Because he died, obviously, with his servants rebelling against him and Pyramid falling on his head, he respects loyalty. So if you're loyal to someone, he will respect you. That's it. Like, for example, there is a moment where he talks with Waver, Ryder's master. And they're in a perilous situation where Ryder's going to be attacked. But Waver does not run away. He stays with his servant. And Gilgamesh actually respects him for it. He says up to his face, says, that loyalty you have is splendid. Let nothing tarnish what you've got there.
Yeah, that's one of the ideas that I really do like about this. And I think Alexander kind of puts it out on the table the best when he kind of calls out Lancer's master.
Yeah, saying he's a coward,
Yeah, because there's this idea of, like, old world honor, which, we can discuss just on its own, arguably never existed, or was more just like a
fantasy,
construct that never happened.
Someone's head.
But I like the way that it parallels that idea of old world honor versus modern
logic.
People as pawns.
Yeah, modern kind of cold logic.
Yeah, I really, really like the dichotomy that it sets up there of you have, no one... even I guess with a couple exceptions, but you have very few people who are in this this Holy Grail war for an honorable reason.
Virtually, if you get down to it, no one is. No one's in for an honorable reason.
Yeah, well, regardless, you have very few that are in it for any kind of reason that these heroes and mythic characters would respect.
Yeah.
And yet they're like subjugated to them. So you have this really interesting like kind of butting of heads that I quite like.
Yeah, it's really good. So I guess that's the first episode. I guess second episode? If you remember what happens.
Rascal, you start us off again, and I command you to input more.
I'm trying to think specifically. What happens... When does the second episode end? Like, what was the last thing that happened in the second episode?
The last thing that happens in the second episode is that Assassin attempts to attack Gilgamesh's master Tokyomi, which means Gilgamesh then just completely fucking annihilates him.
Was this the episode where the kid was living with those people and he had to like hypnotize them?
Yeah, because he moves to Japan and then he hypnotizes two elderly people in Japan to make them think he's their grandson.
Yeah, I loved that. I thought that was so funny. Is that like literally how he can use, like he used magic with the milk and the coffee?
Yeah, because each mage has different forms of magic. Kidetsugu,
really?
Yeah, Kidetsugu, who's Saber's master, has time manipulation. Which that has a drawback because it kind of stops everything but just the forward movement of his body. So technically even his heart stops when he's doing it, so he has limits. Tokyomi has fire affinity magic, and Waver has alchemy magic, so he mixes things together and, creates whatever he wants, so e.g. the coffee. Later on he tampers with the water supply too. The one I think actually has no affinity for any magic is Ryunosuke, who's Caster's master, because he literally just stumbled into it.
Just like you do, you just stumble into magical ceremonies to
literally the only
resurrect
magic circuits
heroes.
Or any semblance of Mani he has in his body is from a family lineage, because how it began, the scene with him looking at an old book that describes how to make the summoning circle.
I actually do have a question about that. How was he able to summon a guy if he didn't have a relic?
What happened is because you don't need a relic to summon a servant. You need a relic if you want to summon a particular servant. So Kidetsugu and the family that he works for, the Ironsburns, which is Irisfield, his wife's family, they particularly wanted him to have King Arthur because they thought King Arthur, being the renowned sword skills that he has, would be the strongest saber servant ever summoned in a Grail War. So you need a relic that ties directly to said hero you're trying to get. If not, then it's like a random gamble of a hero that's opposite your personality.
Opposite? Well, those two seem to match perfectly.
That's what the rest of the series is for. Because there is very similarities, but it's that similarities that makes them differ highly.
Okay. Now, but Rasco, you were going to say? About episode 2?
Oh, about episode 2. I was saying that I loved that scene with him where he was hypnotizing them with the milk or whatever. But then also I'm going through the episode right now with the audio off, so I can like refresh myself with the specific things that happen in this. So that was the episode where they introduced the freaking psychopath guy, and I love that introduction because I was just so like, what the fuck when the kid just gets.
I was about to say, raise your hands if you got jumped at that scare there.
Me,
like,
yep.
I was just like, the thing was, it didn't start me. Like, I just saw it, and I was like, wait a second, I don't even believe what I just saw. What the fuck? And I clicked back, and I watched it again. I was like, what the heck? This is horrifying. Like, that's messed up.
It is that Bane thing of there is no true despair without hope.
Yeah, I do love that.
I was just like, oh,
you give them the hope, and then you take it away in a second.
Oh man, yeah, that was fucking brilliant. And it's just like, it's so out of nowhere. The guy's like mad that he's releasing the kid and everything. You're like, oh, so these two aren't gonna get along either. And then a fucking child just gets like tentacle murdered out of nowhere. It's so fucking frightening.
It's great.
Rascal, let me ask you, before he said he was Bluebeard, and I'm assuming you don't even know who that is.
No, I don't.
Like myself. Who did you think it was when he first showed up?
I thought
what would you in this? I'm gonna look up.
I don't know. Like, I honestly had no idea. Like, I just, like, completely just, like, I don't know who this is at all, honestly.
I thought it was Dracula.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, just, like, it had that look. He had, like, the cloak. He had, like, the creepy looking... Because that's how, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of anime will depict, like, demons and monsters with the eyes kind of crossed like that, Kieran? Am I right?
Again, depends on your anime, because sometimes it'll be like simple as like, oh, they just have red eyes, oh, they have animal eyes. But if you're looking at like more monsters than demons, then yeah, the eyes will be like maybe bulging out or looking in the opposite direction to each other.
Yeah, and that's kind of what was going on with him. So I was like, oh, maybe that's gonna be how they're interpreting Dracula.
Gilles de Rais was his name.
Okay, yeah, that's doesn't help.
No, but that's his name, Gilles de Rais. And Bluebeard was kind of like his, for lack of a better word, serial killer name.
No, I looked up the Bluebeard myth, and that was like just this separate thing that happened a couple hundred years later and was like slightly based on him.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
Basically, like the guy was accused of treachery and then like confessed to several hundred child murders and was executed several days later. And then a couple hundred years later, like the story of Bluebeard, who was like a man that, kidnapped or would marry a woman and then kill her really quickly because she wasn't good enough, and eventually one woman came out on top, kind of thing.
Okay, that actually makes sense considering the type of murders he commits.
Yeah, so I don't know. I thought that was just a really fucked up dynamic because like it seems like you're gonna get really like messed up partnership where they kind of hate each other because the one guy's a
he's
monster.
like nice and lets him go, and he's just like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, like that's what you think you're gonna get, and then they totally just like crush your expectations, just like that child's were.
This is great.
Like the only way that could have been any worse is if the child like literally had a hand on the doorknob to the outside world. That's the only way that scene could have been any more fucked up.
Opens
I just love
the door,
it because
takes the first step out, then gets pulled back in, or something even crazier
I just love how
than
it kind
that.
of plays with expectations, because the jump isn't really the fact of, oh look, he dies, or like, oh look what kills him. The kind of jump is really because it's established already that most of the servants and masters don't get along because the servants are opposite to the masters. So you think, okay, this guy's like completely crazy. If this guy's really nice, and then you think for a split second, he actually might be, because that's a thing they've established. But then, which is great.
Just like really pulled the rug out from under you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I really like that thing. I'll admit, I thought the dude just really fucked up when he sent the assassin to go fight, and then Gilgamesh just like showed up and pimp slapped the motherfucker.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
it was awesome.
Obviously, they never told the assassin of the plan ahead of time, so he actually thought he was going there to kill Tokiyami.
What were you saying,
I was
Rasko?
just saying it was really awesome when he was like dodging all the weird like magical traps and shit. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it was like a more clever way to do the whole like laser grid scene, right?
Yeah.
Side note, this has absolutely nothing to do with anything, but like, all those scenes in movies where it's like a bank heist and the person has to dodge all the lasers?
Yeah.
You can bend a laser to be a really thin, flat surface as opposed to a beam. So why not just do
that.
laser walls in your security system?
Too good of an idea, though, okay?
Yeah,
gotta give him a chance.
It's exactly what it is.
It's not fair. You gotta give him a chance.
I love how sporting bank owners are,
Yeah, honor
and
among-
other like high art museums and stuff.
It's just like it's part of the game. It's a rule. Everybody knows it. Right.
Okay, that has nothing to do with anything. It just remind me of it.
Props to Hassan, Assassin in the series, by the way, for being probably the most loyal servant in the entire series, because that one assassin, he flat out says, go to kill Tokiyami Tosuka. And then he's like, isn't he the one that has Archer? The top class in the entire Grail War. And I'm like, the second to last strongest. And he says, don't worry, there's nothing to fear. And he's like, I know this is a suicide mission. He did it anyway. He didn't even need a command
he
scene.
doesn't know it's a suicide mission, though, because he, like, when he's about to die, he goes, oh, don't worry about him, he says.
But even he straight up says, like, no need to fear Archer, one of the 3 great knight classes. The thing that trumps me by a mile. Even he's just like, okay, that's going to be a thing. And then when he grabs the gem and the sword just goes through his hand, one thing I love is... It's kind of like a good actually aspect of Gilgamesh, going back to kind of like his good aspects from his dickery, is that whenever he says something, he does legitimately mean it, and he will do everything in his power to do so. Like, he grabs the gem, the sword goes through his hand, he just goes, "You are nothing but a slimy toad. Who gave you permission to look up at me?" And he doesn't actually get a chance to fully look up at him before he just kills him. Because he just
I really like that.
partially up, and then he just gets pelted and just dies immediately.
It reminds me of my favorite scene from the David Lynch movie Black Velvet.
Mm-hmm.
Rasco, you've seen that, right?
You mean Blue Velvet?
Blue Velvet, yeah, my bad. Reminds me of the scene from Blue Velvet where the fucking weird dude with the oxygen machine is humping the shit out of the prostitute lady, and he keeps saying, "Don't you fucking look at me." That's all I could think about when Gilgamesh said that shit.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, that was fucking kick ass because
owned
there's
it.
a lot of jump scares in this series, even though it's not like horror really at all.
It's more a lot of kind of not really plot twist, but minor just oh shit, that's a thing moment.
It's just like sudden brutality.
Yeah, which is great because it's a bloody war. Which
I like
also
that.
I love your reactions so far of what you've told me because you're like Alexander the Great's awesome. You were saying you liked Lancer, you liked Yarmut. I was saying I like Saber, and then we were just talking about Gilgamesh. So we all like these people, right? Remember, only one master, pair, and servant can win.
I know, that's
Just
why.
saying.
It's like Game of Thrones, motherfucker.
Yeah. But like, first season, I can tell you this, by the end of the first season, only one servant is dead. Not even one servant and master, just one servant is dead. Second season, they start dropping like fucking flies.
Oh, no!
I'm not telling you who, but yeah.
Ah!
Oh man, no, it's really really well thought out.
Yeah. For the record, can we... I just want to clarify this now to listeners, but when you guys eventually finish Fate Zero, can we do another one for the whole series? I really want
maybe to. or maybe I'll just like talk about it at some point with you. I don't know.
Because okay, if nothing else, then just talk privately between us two, because I want to know your reactions to everything that happens.
Yeah, I might have to, dude. It's just
So fucking
it
bad.
is one of those things. I'm disappointed that we didn't have more time because I wish I could have had the time to watch the entire series. How about you, Rasco?
What do you mean? How about me? Like, would I?
Like, do you wish you could have watched the whole series before recording this?
Well, yeah, because I mean, I think I'm pretty much sold. Like, I think I am gonna watch all of the rest of this. So like,
Yes.
it hooked me. I guess I don't really know. I wish.
You're gonna be a broken man by the end of the series.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, we've talked a little bit about Alexander, but he gets a lot of development in the second episode, the way he interacts with Waver. I really like just how Waver's like this kind of, bratty kid that really is just mad at his geology teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
I was just saying, yeah, he's just a bratty kid.
Yeah, I really like that. So he's so in over his head, but you do get the sense that even though Alexander is a real dick to him at times, that he actually does care about him.
Yeah.
Because like every time that Waver like says something like, "Hey, you're my servant," just in that second episode, he's like, "Hey, you're my servant," and like he looks at him and goes, "I am well aware of the relationship that exists between us in this battle."
Yeah.
Like I love that. Like Alexander just seems way too overconfident, like he doesn't care about any of this, but really he does, and that's great.
I love
That's
how seriously he takes it too, because he wanted in the the fourth episode, when we'll get to later, when all the servants were kind of converging on the fight between Saber and Lancer, he wanted them all to be there because he wanted a giant free-for-all.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted everyone.
I really like how much that characterization fits with who Alexander the Great was.
Oh yeah, they definitely
Because
did
he
their
was just-
research.
Yeah, he was just a guy that really wanted to prove himself. Like he's the ultimate child that could never make his father happy.
Mm-hmm.
That is who Alexander the Great was, in my estimation. I mean, he was also a tactile genius and such, and really very ahead of his time in a lot of ways.
And great motivation to building a massive army.
Mm-hmm. But I really like how he was kind of there are like almost two Alexander the Greats, because on the one hand you do have this thrill-seeking glory hound kind of guy, but on the other hand there is an underlying brilliance to him.
Oh yeah, like he's revered for a reason.
Yeah. My favorite story, and just because this is History Month, I have to take the time to tell my favorite story in the history of philosophy. You have Diogenes the Cynic, who is my personal favorite philosopher, and he was kicking around in Athens around the time as Plato, Aristotle, and Alexander the Great. Keeping in mind, of course, Alexander was educated by Aristotle. So you have Diogenes kicking around in Athens, and he outlived just about everybody. He died in like his 80s. Also, fun fact, he and Alexander died on the same day.
Oh.
So Diogenes kicking around Athens when Alexander came to Athens on his way to go conquer Persia.
Mm-hmm.
And every single like philosopher and teacher and man of science, everyone that needed something like basically funding for their researches or whatever, came to Alexander to ask for it and tell him how great he was and give him advice and all this other stuff. And Alexander looks around and goes, "I've heard of someone called Diogenes. Is he here?" And they go, "No, he didn't come." He's like, "Well, someone bring him." "He won't." And Alexander the Great, keep in mind, most powerful man in the world at this point in time, said, "Fine, if Diogenes will not come to Alexander, Alexander will come to Diogenes." And so I want you to imagine the equivalent of the president with, like, not just the Secret Service, but that too, the president with, like, his entire cabinet walking the streets of D.C. looking for a homeless man.
Mm-hmm.
And then finding him, and Diogenes is on the streets of Athens in a loincloth, sleeping in a goddamn wine barrel. Because that's how he lived.
Mm-hmm.
Also masturbated in public quite a bit.
Good.
That's just how he lived. and like, Alexander looks at me and goes, "Diogenes, tell me what you want." And Diogenes doesn't regard him, and he's like, "Diogenes, I'm Alexander the Great. You name anything in the world that you want. From any corner of the earth, I can get it for you. Tell me what you want." And while he's talking to Diogenes, he and his men are crowding the sun that is shining down on him and casting their shadows. And so Diogenes says, "I want you to get out of my sun." And keep it in mind, once again, Alexander the Great, most powerful person in the world, could have had him killed at that instant, and no one would have said anything. Several of his advisors around him and his military men wanted to have him killed at that moment. And Alexander hushed them all and says, "If I were not Alexander, I would be Diogenes." So I fucking love that story so much.
Cool.
Oh my god, Diogenes was a cynic and one of the few people in philosophy who, like, lived their philosophy.
That's really
He's
awesome.
an OG gangsta.
Yeah, I fucking love that story. So, and it is a telling thing, because I feel they do a fairly decent job in this series of capturing kind of both of those sides of Alexander, like the cocky, overconfident, basically jock, and then, like, he's got an underlying intelligence and a real sense of honor to him that I quite enjoy.
Yeah, like...
So that's why he is my favorite character. I feel they captured the, as silly as this sounds, in a show about fucking time-traveling, resurrecting heroes fighting each other to the doom, I feel they captured the historical Alexander in spirit quite well.
What's interesting, actually, is I think he will definitively be your favourite character in the series, because it only gets better with him. Because they actually delve into, like, his development. They go into why, being the way he is, why was he so good at what he did? Like, how did he conquer? How did he become the king of conquerors? And they pretty much of what his greatest strength was not his vast army, was not his vast weaponry, or not his brute strength, or his cockiness, or his "we can do this." It is his ability to talk to people like people. Not to talk down like, I am a mighty king, you are just that or whatnot, because he can play that role, but he talks to a person like he would talk to any other person.
I really want to see more scenes with him and Gilgamesh. I'm really excited for that then, because those two are just complete polar opposites.
Like I told you, there's an entire episode where him, Gilgamesh, and Saber sit down and talk about kings.
I fucking love things like that, where you just like, okay, let's pause the action scenes and just have characters fucking talk.
And there's even an action scene at the end of it, because once they have the great character development and whatnot, I won't tell you who attacks whom or whatnot, or what happens in the end. None of the kings attack each other, because they have like a pact going on for that one night. And they all, honor bound, keep to the pact. Someone attacks Sue because someone was like, oh, they're all sitting down doing nothing, perfect time for a sneak attack. Which is stupid because, you got like 3 awesome servants not attacking each other, so they'll all attack you, but whatever. So they sneak attack, and then that's when you learn of, because obviously we introduced the ability that each servant has a noble phantasm, a super special ability that is tied to the legend. Obviously, Ryder's noble phantasm we haven't seen yet. It is not the lightning chariot, because that's just his what designates him as a rider class. His noble phantasm is fucking great, and he shows it at the end of that episode, and
that's fucking cool.
It's just great. It ties into what made him awesome.
That's fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
But that was kind of like the second episode. With the third episode, what do you guys think of that? Rasco, talk.
Yeah, I keep having to pull Rasco back in here. Kieran, you talk less. Rasco, you talk more.
Okay. So to set the scene for you, if you want to remember, episode 3, it literally begins right after where we left off, where Gilgamesh killed Assassin, and there's a conversation in Tokyomi's room, Gilgamesh's master, between him and Gilgamesh.
Okay, this episode, there's a lot of things confusing me here. Not confusing me, but not confusing me, but like there's a lot of things that I'm sensing, but I'm not sure if I'm supposed to sense. All right.
Okay.
Well, I'll start off. I like the episode with them when they're watching TV, and he's like, "This Bill Clinton guy." He's like,
yeah.
I thought that was really funny.
I love that they slide in a reference to Darius, who was like the Persian king that Alexander fought.
Yep.
So I really, really like that. But go on.
But I get a very strong lesbian vibe going on here.
Between who and whom?
With King Arthur.
And Iris Phil?
Yes.
Well,
you don't have to say anything. I just get a very strong...
No, I can tell you for a straight up fact they're not, because she's married and she loves Kiritsugu, but there is something going on, it's just not romantically.
Okay.
They're just pillow princesses.
Oh yeah. They're fine with one-night stands, but anything past that,
I'm confused also. Who is the... So, why did he make out with the other chick, with the black...
Okay, I was literally about to bring this up at the tail end when we were finishing back to strength there. That is the one thing in Fate Zero, or the Fate series entirely, because again, giant nerd, not the favourite anime, but one of my favourite animes of all time, possibly second in terms of giant series, I don't know, but that requires more thought, but I can tell you anything about this series, right? I can tell you anything about Stay Night, I can tell you anything about how the Grail works, the stats of the servants, I can tell you the stats of the servants, I can tell you how everything works. I cannot for the love of me explain why the fuck they kiss. Because when you see what the relationship is, because she's his assistant, right?
Yeah.
And not giant spoilers because they don't really delve into her that much, but she was an orphan that he picked up, so he robbed her, okay?
Yeah.
It's an orphan that he picked up and then became his servant, and not servant, but assistant really, and reasons why, they did this, he'll explain later because it goes into more of his character and what he's like. The only reason I can come up with why they kissed is to relieve stress, because he was freaking out about saying that this gun is heavy, but Ilya, his daughter, weighs a lot more. So obviously everything's kind of weighing on just this point, because he's usually a cool, collected character, and just kind of what he's gone into, what's going on, the fact that he's left his family, he's put his wife in danger, which, by the way, brilliant move from a tactician standpoint, that he makes Irisol look like the true master of Saber when he's doing the stuff round back. That's a genius move. But all that kind of stuff brings up I assume it's to relieve stress. Other than that, I have no idea because they don't do it again. They establish that he's married, he loves his wife, he has a kid with her. They have a lot more romantic scenes. I don't get why that happened. I couldn't tell you. I can explain everything in this. Everything.
That was just strange. I was just like, why did they just kiss? What
No,
am I supposed to get from that?
I guess I just looked away from screen at like the perfect moment because I didn't even notice it happen.
I don't know. I fucking don't know.
That's funny.
Strange.
I just don't know. It's literally the only thing in like the entire... Which is hilarious considering how much shit goes on in this series. That they explain everything, but just... not that.
And then this episode ends with Lancer coming in at the end.
Okay, so explain why you love Lancer.
Okay, he is so okay, he reminds me of a character from the Hunger Games that I really like. So there's a character of Finnick Odair in the Hunger Games, and he's kind of like a charmer type guy who's kind of a little bit like... He comes across a little bit more like... if just kind of like... I guess he comes across kind of gay. That's what I'm going to say. I'll just be blunt. He comes across kind of gay, but he's like, it's all part of his charm. He's just kind of like an effeminate man who's who is really arrogant in a way that like doesn't ever overtake him to make him just like douchey. He's never quite too arrogant, but he always has a way of deflecting everything that anyone says to him. He'll deflect it right back at them in a really snarky kind of way, a really kind of like just kind of casual and likable way. And I just really like his character, and it reminds me a lot of Finnick.
Yeah, he is kind of a lot like that. He's never actually, if you kind of get that, he's never cocky. He's just really confident in his abilities. Like Gilgamesh is cocky. He's just really confident in what he can do and knows his limitations and whatnot. And also the woman charmer thing, you kind of get that from him, obviously. But I like how obviously they tie it with the legend because Diarmuid was cursed with a love spot, so any woman that gazed upon the mole on Balin's face would instantly fall in love with him. Which kind of goes into his development for the series, and also kind of his backstory, because obviously one interesting thing they all tap onto with the character's backstory is obviously all these heroes at some point died. So how did they die? If you some people obviously already know in the legend, and they don't go delve too truly into that, but there's a wonderful episode, I mean it's episode 9, and it begins with Lancer's entire life in like up in like the span of not even a full minute. You get the entirety of his life, and it's great. And the entire reason of why everything works the way it does for him. And they tie it in a great way too, because as the Grey War goes on, a master and a servant's connection can grow stronger. So when a master's sleeping, they still technically can connect to the servant. So when they sleep, they actually get dreams of the servant's memories, which is of their past.
Oh, that's cool.
So Lancer's master goes to sleep, and that entire sequence we see is him dreaming about Lancer's life.
Gotcha.
Which is great, and I believe they don't go into much because technically the servants are just constructs of mana, so they don't need to sleep, but the ones that do when they want to, they dream of their master's desires. So not what they are, not what they've done, but what they want to be. Which they don't delve that one into too much because servants don't actually need to sleep or eat.
Gotcha. Anyone have anything else they wanted to talk about with episode 3? Because episode 3 is just kind of like a midpoint between the exposition and then when the series, I feel, really starts going. And Kieran, it was good of you to push for the first 5 episodes, because I think it leaves on just like a perfect moment where you're really ready to see stuff get going.
Yeah, because the first episode you establish the characters and the rules. The second episode kind of does that too. The second episode also drops this awesome bomb of Gilgamesh and the assassin. Episode 3, also really good, extends upon that. Episode 4, action, like beautiful action, what's going on. Episode 5 is kind of the combination, the end of that first event.
Yeah, and I think I would just want to talk about episodes 4 and 5 together, because...
Before you do that, can I quickly mention, because we're probably going to talk about that for a lot.
Sure.
Last thing about episode 3. Actually, 2 things about episode 3. 1, Iris feels adorable. Just saying that. 2, Saber, not being biased, whatever, but totally rocks that suit. Okay, I'm done.
I agree, I like the suit. I think it's cool.
The suit's fucking amazing.
Okay, then.
I'm not biased whatsoever.
Okay. Rasco, anything else on episode 3 for you?
Nope.
Okay. So episodes 4 and 5 I thought were just fantastic, and, like, I could not. Like, I was gonna just watch episode 4 and then, like, you know, go do something for a few minutes. No, I had to.
You had to.
I had to start episode 5 right away.
Just
Like
the
that.
fight scene alone between Lancer and Saber is just
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah, it's really, really fucking awesome.
Did you get Kenshin flashbacks, Kieran?
In what
With,
particular?
like,
Just the fight?
Yeah, just like the sense of, okay, we did a couple blows, now we gotta sit here and talk about each other's techniques.
I was about to
for,
say, I
like,
got
10
Kenshin
minutes.
vibes, but what the biggest Kenshin vibes I get from the fight is the reason why I love that fight so good. It's not just the animation, because, by the way, just quick note, the animation from the entire series is beautiful. Done.
Oh, yeah.
Love
Some of the cleanest animation I've ever seen.
the sequel series. I thought they went out and shot it in live action. It looks that good. Jesus
Wow.
Christ, that show looks so good. Because it aired between 2014 and 2015, the sequel series. This,
Okay.
does anyone want to guess when this aired?
90s?
What, Fate Zero?
Yeah, I'm just guessing.
No, further than that.
Really?
Yeah, it's digital animation.
Okay.
So you're not
Well,
going to...
I was just going off the Clinton thing.
I'll say you're not going to buy 90s just because that's when the show takes place.
Gotcha.
In the
No,
90s.
I don't know.
Um,
2006?
2010 to 2011.
Okay.
So it's well, and then you get the sequel series, which is 2014 to 2015, I believe. What was the thing I was going to mention? The reason why I like the fight is, you know, in Kenshin, one of the things that makes the fight really cool is the strategy that kind of goes into it.
Yeah, and that's what's going on
That's
here.
what's going on here because they're like she's like, which one is this noble phantasm, the short spear or the long spear?
Yeah.
What's behind her invisible sword? What's the length of her invisible sword?
Yeah,
How do
that
you
was so
figure-
cool.
How do you figure that out? At the same time, you've got the masters trying to one-up each other with Kiritsugu trying to snipe him. The other guy trying to tell Lancer to hurry up and fucking do his job.
Yeah.
And then you've got...
No, I totally had Kenshin flashbacks. Like, okay, we, like, sword parried, like, 5 times. Now we gotta talk to each other for 20 minutes.
Pretty much, yeah. Which is just awesome.
So odd, but it was fucking cool at the same
The
time.
fight was just great. And I love how Lancer tricks Saber into making her think the long spear is the noble phantasm by dropping the short one on the floor, making her lose her armor and then rush towards him.
That was cool. I like how she tried a bunch of different techniques to
One-up him.
Yeah, and he was really not so much anticipating her like exact moves, but
Just reacting.
really just deceiving her and leading her down certain like logical paths.
Yeah, because when you get down to it, obviously each servant fights differently and has different abilities, and obviously that would be the deciding match. But you think about it, these are blind fights. You know nothing about who you're fighting, so you have to kind of think on the fly.
Yeah.
You know nothing of what they're capable of. You just know they're the enemy, kill them. You know nothing about them. Maybe...
Yeah, I really like that about it.
Yeah.
Man. Okay, Rasco, you go.
I really another reason I really like Lancer is just because of his freaking awesome weapons. And when he spins the staff, and there's this one part where he does this thing where he like dodges her or something, and then he turns around and then he has the staff in one hand and he like flips it from one side of his like hip, then flips it
Is
around
it
to like
sad?
the
I
other.
know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. He flips it and then he flips it to the other hip, and it's like just so bad. It's all in one hand.
What's really cool, in one of Lancer's best fights, one of Lancer's best fights, he grabs the red spear, right? Because he does the twirl thing a lot. But he gets the red spear. He just has the red spear, right? And he just gets it, and he flips it so it spins round his arms, round his neck, round his torso, and finally round to the back of his body. And it's great.
He is badass. That's so cool. Like
He is badass.
I love his whole like outfit and everything. Like I like his whole like the green like skin tight thing with like the gauntlet things around his like
It's like
ribs.
proper knight armor too.
It's really cool. He's just like really like sleek and slender and like agile, and I also really like his hairstyle. It's kind of like anime Wolverine.
What, from the hair? Yeah. But no, I really like what. Here's an interesting question then, because this is usually the most reaction to anyone that I like, anyone I know that likes Lancer. What do you think of his master?
His master makes me sad, but he's also another reason why I guess he's a cool character is because he's got a really interesting conflict because he's a lot more principled than his master is.
Yeah, that's, again, the wonderful oppositeness, because his master cares nothing for loyalty, yet he cares everything for loyalty. Like, one thing, scenes I love, and you really feel bad for Lancer because he just like, no, I must do this for my master, I must do this, and you're like, but your master's a piece of shit. You just like, all the time.
It's so like Game of Thrones, man. Like, especially early season 1 and 2 Game of Thrones, when you got like Lannisters versus the Starks, and you love, like, every one of the Starks is like fucking golden child innocent, and you love them to death, and every one of the Lannisters is a pile of garbage, except for Tyrion. And so you want, like, you're watching that shit, and, like, you know the Starks and the Lannisters are going head-to-head, and at the same time, while you want Robb Stark to, like, win the rebellion and all this shit,
like,
you're, like, hoping that somehow Tyrion's gonna survive it all, and you know there's no world in which those two both live happily ever after.
Oh, yeah.
And so I love the way that parallels, how you have these unchoosable alliances.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One thing I actually
that
really...
you like one side of them, but not the other.
Yeah, it's like a weird, like, alliance of convenience kind of thing. But one thing I really like about, not skipping too far in the fight, because I do want to talk about the Lancer and Saber stuff. One thing I love about Lancer as a character is when Ryder interrupts them and then says, it's just like, both of you are amazing and great warriors. It's like, so I have a proposition. Why don't both of you drop your blades and work for me? It's just like, we will conquer the world itself and become brother in arms. Saber says no because I am the king myself and I cannot lower myself to another king. But I love Lancer's reason where he says, as tempting as that offer must be, it's just like, I've already made a vow to my lord and master. I can only give the girl to one man and not to the likes of you.
Yeah.
Like, under circumstances, he may have took that opportunity. And even later on, he says, thank you for the opportunity, thank you for the thing, but he has already made a vow to his master and he will not betray him.
Yeah.
Which there is a reason
really cool.
why he is really loyal to this dick, because past stuff, he wasn't exactly the most loyal in his past life.
Yeah, see, and I don't know anything about that person that he's supposed to be.
Which is cool, because if you don't know anything about these characters, you learn through this. Which is...
It is, like, based on their portrayal of Alexander and of Arthur, really, like...
I've looked this shit up, they all are really accurate.
I mean, I don't know a ton about Arthurian legend, but I feel like what we're getting from that character is a pretty good interpretation of it. I know a lot more about Alexander the Great, and he's fucking dead on.
Oh, he is dead on.
It's a little more comic relief than I would have expected with Alexander the Great, but Nailhead, Pie meet each other.
Yeah, everyone's pretty spot on other than maybe a few quirks, like obviously Saber being a woman. That's about it. Saber's everything else other than that.
Well, I mean, that was obviously just the, like, twist to really grab you, I feel.
To really grab you, and they actually make the reason of her being a woman a really nice purpose, because they make the big thing about her being a woman is obviously she was in an age where she wanted to just simply help people, and she goes into reason why and whatnot, but then just got self-exploited because she just wanted to seek work. Like, as the Arthur legend kind of begins, he wanted to just kind of seek work as a petty boy, and then, stumbled upon the sword and the stone and became the prophesized king. She just wanted to just earn work for her village, for her town, to get money and to just help people live, just her people, and then became everyone's king because she just heard, oh, there's this thing where big, strong, tough men are pulling swords out and making bets, like, hey, if you can pull this sword out, you get money because, it's really good. You're like, oh, money, let me try. Bam, you're now king of Britain, have fun with that. And she's like, I just wanted to help people. Okay, now I'm just a little girl with all this responsibility thrusted onto her.
Yep, that's cool. That's not too far off with Arthur, so...
Yeah, which is awesome. But yeah, the actual fight between her and Lancer is fantastic.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's such a great
mono fight.
Yeah, I like the chess nature of it. They're both like trying to conceal parts of what they're doing, and they're both playing each other. Obviously, Lancer's a lot better at playing her than she is
vice versa,
playing him.
Which I kind of like. really like Lancer's Noble Phantasm with the Red Spear, how it can... It's just a simple thing. When you say it out loud, it doesn't sound that great. The Red Spear can disable, detect, and also bypass anything magic-related, which doesn't sound that great. But when you use it against a bunch of characters that say, like, for example, armor is magically woven, just goes straight through.
And I guess my question was, well, like, so is it just because it's magic, or like, is it just armor? And like, you know, I'm kind of wondering about that. It's like
the armor itself is magically woven.
No. Like, is all of its protective ability completely dependent on magic, or is it like armor that has been magically imbued?
Magically imbued.
Okay, well, like, see, then the spear shouldn't have been able to cut through it still then.
This just goes straight through. Not even, like, actually hitting the armor itself.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. Is like, if it's just armor, like regular armor that had been magically imbued, then you think that it would still do the job of armor and deflect the spear anyway. But I guess not.
What was the other thing with the Red Spear? Oh, I liked how when it ever contacted with Saber's sword, you actually saw it. You saw the sword.
Yeah, that was cool, and I like how he used that to figure out how long the blade was.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, it's a challenge that I don't think you could ever accurately recreate in real life, so it's an interesting way to use kind of, you know, animation and staging for a fight.
Just look how you can take... It shows how thinking on the fly and strategy is actually really difficult. Like with Saber's decision that she cuts the armor in order to make it go faster, and she kind of just goes, okay, he's seen my Noble Phantasm at least glimpsely and knows how long it is, so she reveals it for a split second to give her a boost of speed. And that was a genius idea. It's just she did not count for that spear. If it wasn't for that spear, she would have had him, because of how fast the sword just made her jump into the air like that.
Yeah, it's all really, really cool, like cat and mouse game kind of back and forth between them. And it's just awesome.
I love how the sword actually is a golden blade. Like, you'll see it later when she gets to the point, because eventually everyone knows who she is, so there's no point concealing it. So eventually she'll have it out just full time without the invisibility, but I love how it's an actual golden blade. It gives this really cool lightsaber effect to it with the glow, and it's awesome.
Yeah, like, it looked like she had a fucking jet engine on her back when she jumped forward.
Oh yeah, it's great. It just propelled her into the air.
I loved how her armor was like a dress.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Like a kind of like a weird corset kind of thing.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like a giant like metal. It was cool.
Yeah, I agree. The fight choreography was very, very nice. I mean, it's kind of like a given to just give that, like, you just give that to anime, that the fight choreography is always going to be pretty cool. Like, I've yet to see an anime where the fights don't look awesome.
Oh yeah, that's good. It's kind of a thing that they pay really good attention to. But I guess the last thing before we get to like episode 5, where, you know, we can talk about all the servants, because they all kind of interrupt the fight. The last thing I kind of really like about the fight is the respect that Saber and Lancer have for each other. Despite the cat and mouse game that they play, they have that great respect for each other. Like, the moment when Lancer knows who she is, he just flat out says, it's just sort of like, what an honour it is to face King of Britain, King Arthur Pendragon, in battle. It's like, I am, like, only like the Holy Grail War could give me the sublime privilege of facing you in battle. And then she also says, it's great to meet a warrior also who can keep up on my level my skill. And then he just goes, oh, he must be a bit disconcerted now losing the loss of one arm. And she just flips the sword from her and goes, you jest. It's like, simply and merely scratch should not get you concerned. I'm like,
she's merely a flesh wound.
Yes, exactly. She's fucking awesome.
Oh, man.
It's also that particular attention to language too. She doesn't say, it's like, you are you kidding? She just goes, surely you jest. I love that.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so good. So fucking.
And then when we get into episode 5 and fucking everybody and their brother shows up, it's awesome.
Oh, it's great. It gives you the full feel that this is a battle royale.
Santa Claus attack.
Pretty much.
Right?
Pretty much what it is.
I love how the episode ends with Ryder too. And I like how it ends, not particularly with just him showing up in between them, but I like how it reveals his name, because I like, obviously in a secret war, you keep your identity secret. He just blurts out his fucking because he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, he's like, this is my name, and then he's like,
I'm
what?
Skandar, King of Conquerors. And you just see Waver's face, and he's like, the fuck are you doing?
What class is he, like,
Rider.
compared to us? Yeah, I know, but what level?
Oh, level, he is 5th strongest.
Okay. So, he has very little reason to be as confident as he is.
Yeah.
But as you learn later, because, the Noble Phantasm special abilities, when he reveals his, because all the Noble Phantasms are ranked via letters, like, A, and then S being the highest, B, C, so this is like a C rank for Noble Phantasm, like, for example, Lancer's Double Spear Noble Phantasm, the one that can stable magic, and the one that can, when it wounds you, it can never be healed. That's a B rank Noble Phantasm. Ryder, despite being a 5th class, because of who he is, he has an S-class Noble Phantasm. There's only one other person in the series that's an S-class Noble Phantasm, and that's Gilgamesh.
Nice.
Because I love also the excuse of Gilgamesh, because the rule is you only have one Noble Phantasm, but Gilgamesh has 1,000 swords shooting at you. The Noble Phantasm itself is the gate, the portal that he gets the swords out of.
That's cool.
Which is cool, and it's a housery for different weapons from heroes long past, so each one of them is a Noble Phantasm. It's a Noble Phantasm that brings out other Noble Phantasms.
Yeah, I really like that. I like how Gilgamesh shows up in the battle, and he's all like, I love that he gets called out, but he still thinks he's so much
better than everyone else.
So much better than everyone else. And he's like, well, I was just watching because I'm better, and you guys are entertaining.
The entire series, there's a fun game I like to play with myself, and a fun game that eventually the characters like to play with themselves. It's called Make Gilgamesh Move in a Fight. Because he doesn't. He stands still and just shoots swords at you. He doesn't move.
Yeah.
That's very Sinestro.
I love how he starts out on the light post, and then he's like, how dare you destroy that and make me
He always
have to land on
positions
the
himself
ground.
higher than everyone else.
Yeah, he's
and
like,
then,
it's awesome.
And then he got pissed off at Berserker because he made him move. He made him jump.
Yeah.
It's funny that really reminds me of something Jeff Johns has said about Sinestro. Everyone listening and you two that I'm talking to, cross your arms across your chest and put both hands around your biceps, and imagine you have a ring on, right? The way that Jeff Johns described Sinestro fighting was always floating above the ground with his arms like that and letting the ring do all the work.
Pretty much.
With the exception of fighting Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
Hal Jordan was the only one that could get him pissed off enough that he'd actually, fight like every other ring slinger we ever see in Green Lantern and stuff. So what you're talking about with Gilgamesh, that's very similar trait. He and Sinestro would get along very well, not at all.
One thing I think that actually is really cool, because I've also played this game of who actually makes Gilgamesh move in a fight. I can tell you this: no one in Fate Zero makes Gilgamesh move in a fight, not counting that jump. No one makes Gilgamesh move. Once someone comes close, someone almost gets his neck, but he doesn't move. He stops them before they get to his neck. But yeah. The second one is he moves once in the sequel series, and when I mean move, he ducks. That's it, he ducks. But he did it. He made him do it.
Badass.
Yeah, which means he is automatically the most badass servant ever, because he made Gilgamesh duck.
Gilgamesh can go
Nice.
kill him.
I just love the tension too, because obviously Gilgamesh shows up and he's got that natural presence about him, because everyone knows, oh shit, the guy that beat Assassin in one blow, but not really. But everyone else thinks that. And then
I'm really curious to see how Assassin comes back in the story, because they're aware of him now, which seems like Assassin did a pretty shitty job of ensuring that little trick got any mileage, but whatever.
Yeah, so I think only Hidetsugu, being Saber's master, knows that there's multiple assassins. Everyone else doesn't yet.
Yeah, but still, maybe if you're a master of stealth, don't stay in one spot.
Don't stay in one spot, exactly. The only problem being is that Kirei, his master, told him, get a bird's eye view so I can see what's going on, which puts him in a stupid vantage point.
Still, Batman does that shit all the time. I don't want to hear it. Batman blends in. Assassin blend in.
Yeah. Fuck you, Assassin. Blend in better, you bitch.
Blend in better, you cunt.
If Zorro can ride into town on a goddamn horse and sneak up behind somebody and steal their hat or whatever right out of their hands in broad daylight, fucking master magical assassin can hide out on a rooftop.
Oh yeah, most
without
definitely.
seeing.
I like the natural tension that Gilgamesh brings to the fight, and he wasn't ordered to go to the fight, he just went because why not?
Yeah,
and I love
that's really good.
I love how the quick thing of the master relationship between Tokyomi and Gilgamesh. Tokyomi is the servant, he is the master.
Yeah, he's like just trying to keep Gilgamesh under any kind of control, and like when he orders Gilgamesh to leave, Gilgamesh is fucking livid.
He's fucking pissed because he just made him just retreat when he could have just slaughtered everyone and after like disgraced. But I like how he appears and he's just like, the reason why he appeared is why it's like, you, Saber, you, Ryder, you claim to be kings. I am the one true king. You're just charlatans taking my name. And then, then he obviously is about to attack them with his swords, and then you're thinking, okay, we've got Ryder, we've got Lancer, we've got Saber, we've got Gilgamesh, shit's about to get real, and then suddenly it just sees Kari, Berserker's master, just goes, kill them all, and then just Berserker shows up, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, Berserker was really, really interesting, because like at first he just looks all metal and shit, and then he starts like, backflipping and stealing swords out of the air and throwing them back at Gilgamesh.
Oh yeah, he's like immensely agile for his class. Like, I think his speed stat is like A rank plus.
That was so fucking badass, dude.
Oh yeah, because he just grabbed the sword and shot it back at him, and then Gilgamesh is like, you dare lay a hand on my treasures. And I love how, that shot when he gets super pissed and he opens the gate of Babylon, like, immensely? That is the closest in the entire series we've ever seen to almost opening the entire gate. Because he gets so pissed, he's almost like literally throwing his entire arsenal at him before, obviously, Tokyomi says he uses a seal to make him come back. He would have gone ballistic.
Okay, now tell me spoilers if it's too much spoilers, but said they can only compel them to listen to whatever they told them to do 3 times.
Yes, naturally, it is in the benefit to listen to what the master says, because the master is what ties them to this world. So if they don't listen to what the master says in a death battle, most likely the master will die, and then they will lose any attachment they have to this world, and they will go disappear. Because those command seals on their hand is what is the anchor that keeps them in this world. So you want to stay on the good side of your master, or want to do naturally what they say. But if for whatever reason your master is not saying a specific order, you can make them physically do an order 3 times. But once your command seals are gone, you are out of the war and your servant is gone.
Gotcha, okay.
It's not immediate too. It's like not the moment the seal's gone, poof, he's immediately gone. Because what happens, the logistics of it is that what keeps them in this world is the mana that comes from the seal. Now, the servants themselves have their own reservoir of mana, but it's not enough to keep them in this world. So the moment that seal's gone, they're just working on their own mana, and once that runs out, they disappear. So they have a time limit the moment that seal's gone.
Gotcha, okay, I was just curious about that.
Like
so what happens if you order him 3 times and then
the
you use
gone.
it all up?
There is someone that eventually, they use the seal 3 times, and the servant then, like, strategically stays low, avoids getting in fights because he needs all his mana just to stay alive. Because obviously if he gets into a fight where he exerts mana, he's going to be going faster.
Gotcha. Okay, just curious about that one.
The best scenario, this never happened, so I can say this. The best scenario for that is Castor, because his Noble Phantasm is his book, and his book is literally an extra supply of mana. So if he ever lost his master, he can last longer than most people would, because he has an extra supply of mana. It'd still run out, but he has more than most people. Which can let him conjure familiars and the tentacle thing can conjure familiars and natural monsters and demons.
Okay. I was just curious about what happens if Gilgamesh still never fucking listens or something.
Oh, he has to. Once that seal's done, he doesn't respect Tokyo anymore. In fact, he doesn't like him anymore. Because obviously he made him do that, but he at least doesn't put himself in a situation where he has to use any more of those seals. Gotcha.
Okay, let's talk about Berserker, because that shit came out of fucking nowhere.
It's fucking awesome.
Raska, you were about to say something?
I talk about Gilgamesh or Berserker or something, because you didn't say anything on them. You've just been creaming about Lancer.
Well, Gilgamesh is a douche, but he's a likable douche. Actually, no, he's not. But I like him because he's a douche. And
Eventually,
then
He's the one you love to hate.
he's the one
That's what I was
true
gonna say.
douche.
Eventually, you'll, like I said before, eventually you'll actually find admirable qualities to him. So then you're just like, you actually get this weird, interesting situation where I've just come to the mere fact that I just like Gilgamesh, but eventually, initially, you just go, I don't want to like you anymore, but you have good traits. I'm sorry, continue.
And then the Berserker reminds me of like Venom.
Yeah,
like
the black smoke.
yeah, like that's like the kind of like vibe he gets, and like when he so he comes across like strange, quiet, silent type guy. Then
He can
as soon as
rage.
as soon as he deals with like whatever as soon as he like turns his attention to them, and then he like grabs the light pole. And he's just like screaming and freaking out, and you're like, "What the heck? You're a crazy psychopath."
So much so that his own master lost control of him at that split moment.
Oh, okay.
His rage was that great he couldn't control him.
Okay, what's up with the fucking worms?
Okay. Cardia, as it was said in episode 1, he is from one of the three great mage families. Three great mage families being the Einsburns, who are the ones that live in Germany. Those are the ones that Iris feels family for, and the one that Kiritsuga's working for. So, essentially the family that Kiritsuga's working for, we see in episode 1, they have the castle in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
That's them. You have the Tosakas, which that's the character, that's the mage family that the character Tokiomi, Gilgamesh's master. He's from the Tosaka family. They are the greatest because they have been like the most prestige and well known. And then you've got the Mato family, which have kind of fallen from grace because previous Grow Wars they've been losing tremendously and been spending too much time on the Grow Wars only just to lose, so they've been losing resources. So Cardia is born into that family, but as it's said, from his father, Zoko Mato, the old creepy fuck, he abandoned magery. He had no interest in it. He didn't train whatever. Obviously because he wants to save Sakura, because they made a deal with the Tosaka family to have a new heir. So now they're now experimenting with Sakura in a really gruesome fashion with the worms. Because did anyone get freaked out when you saw just a naked child in a worm bath?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the fuck the worms do.
I'll explain in a second. But Cardia said he'll obviously take her place. He's never trained a day in magery in his life, so in order to get up there with the other servants, or at least have enough mana to be even considered so the Grail gives him a seal, he needs to get up his mana, and the Mato family are known for dark magic. So essentially it's magic implantation through dark sorcery. Each one of the worms is breaded with magic in them, but they have to go inside your body, inside your organs, into your layers to implant that magic. So they have to go in you. Sakura, who's, the girl, his plan for her, because she's not old enough and strong enough to compete in this Grey War, but since it happens every 60 years, he was planning to implant her for the rest of her life with those worms, then get her pregnant, and then her child would be a great mage for the next war.
It's a really long plan.
Yeah, it is, because he was thinking extreme long term until Cardia came along.
Just that many steps ahead.
Oh yeah, which then again, he's not really... he doesn't give a fuck about his son, Cardia, which I was saying earlier, all these characters are people, you can see a good side, bad side. The only character you can classify as a villain because there's nothing redeemable about him is that dad. Is that old fuck, because there's actually nothing good about him for the entire series. He's just...
Well, even though his son is doing everything he wants him to do, he's still fucking hey, you're a fucking cripple.
Yeah, he's still a cunt to him because he doesn't give a fuck about him. Because if he fails, he's still got his main plan in waiting. He doesn't give a fuck.
Yep.
The only time you could ever argue there is a sliver of good is when Cardia says he can use the worm magic. He says, "Do you want to die?" So there's a bit of concern there, but then it immediately drops. So fuck it, he's evil. It's the only one you can classify as a villain because there's nothing good about him. For the entire series, he's just a cock.
You call him a cuck or a cock?
A cock.
Well, he's also a cuck.
He's also a cock, yes.
Both.
Nothing really else adds on Berserk at this point because you haven't gotten to his stuff yet.
Yeah.
And then he's just really badass. But the kind of point I want to bring up too is because Berserker goes ballistic on Saber and Trials attacks, which he has an awesome Noble Phantasm that anything he can touch, he can corrupt and turn into his Noble Phantasm. Mm-hmm. So that pole was really cool. And eventually he actually corrupts an entire airplane
See, that's what I was thinking. I was like, could he corrupt like a car?
Yep,
Like,
yep, it's awesome.
oh, that's so cool. I was just like, no, that's not how it works. But then, like,
Right, here's something to get hyped for, right? In the middle of a gigantic battle between all the servants, because everyone's like doing something, everyone's trying to get someone, Berserker hijacks an airplane, like a fighter plane, right? And has an airplane battle with Gilgamesh.
That's fucking epic.
That is epic. And the entire time, because Gilgamesh's airship, it's his own, it comes from the gate. It's a golden ship with a throne on, so he just sits on it the entire time.
Yeah.
And he can telepathically make it move, so he doesn't need to have a steering wheel or anything, he just sits there on his throne while he's zooming around in the skies.
That's OP. That's ridiculously overpowered.
Again, S-class fucking Noble Phantasm, the OP is shit.
Nice. Okay, is there anything else we want to discuss with these first 5 episodes?
I'm trying to think near episode 5. Rasco, did you cry inside when Cainith, Lance's master, forced him to fight against Saber?
Yeah, that was one of the other things I really liked, is that, like, you got to see him be really conflicted because that was such a stupid, douchey thing to do at that moment. Like, oh, turn on her. And it's like, fuck you, you bitch. And then he had to use, I guess, one of his command seals, so he only has 2 left, I guess, for Lancer.
Yeah, he's only got 2 left.
Mm-hmm.
Which eventually, because next episode you will see that Cainith has an assistant, his betrothed, it's not his wife, it's
I've
his
actually
engaged.
watched 2 more episodes in, I think. So
Oh, okay, so you know the redhead woman?
Yeah.
She tells him, you shouldn't have used that seal, you're a fucking idiot.
Well,
Because...
Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, he doesn't take her opinion into much thought because she's a woman and his servant naturally attracts women, so...
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Well, what can he say? He's sexy.
Exactly, but I like how he stops the Berserker fight.
When you got a big pole, you gotta play with it.
Exactly, when he's got the spear, you've got to use it.
Yeah, you got a long spear, you gotta use it, okay?
And you've got the spear that can penetrate anything.
Yeah,
you just got to use it.
By spear, they mean penis.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Okay, well, on that note, let's go ahead and go on to ratings for this.
For 5 episodes.
Yeah, of the first 5 episodes. Actually, you know what? Before we go on to ratings, let's do predictions. Kieran, you're obviously excluded. Raska, where do you predict this series will go? What's going to be the ultimate conclusion?
I'm going to enjoy this.
Oh, God. Okay, I'm gonna predict a path for the character that I really like at the moment. Lancer. I think
Go.
Lancer, his master, is just gonna be such an idiot. He's gonna, like, drive he's gonna just, like, ruin everything for everyone, and Lancer's gonna be, like, a much more likable character that actually I think is gonna, like, have a deep respect for what is Saber. I think that they're gonna have like a kind of like quasi friend relationship, and then like that's gonna suck because like Lancer's I think is gonna get like taken out at some point, and it's gonna be like, oh, it's all because of his stupid idiot master's fucking idiot face, and like I feel like it's gonna just like make it really sad. I also predict that what is the name of the kid who's the master of Rider?
Waver.
I think that he is going to, like, it's hard because I feel like
Sorry, continue.
never mind. I can't even say what I think is gonna happen. I have no idea.
No, say it.
I just think like he's probably gonna make it pretty. I think he's gonna make it pretty far, and then he's just gonna like have a horribly sad death, and he's gonna like. I don't know. I can't even. I don't even know. I'm just sad.
I'm biting my tongue so much.
Your reaction's killing me, dude.
Your prediction on Lancer killed me. It killed me so much.
Ah!
You'll cry. I'm going to just tell you this. You're going to cry.
Oh man. Okay, my prediction. I mean, it's kind of hard. You know, you guys watching can look at the thumbnail. It's kind of hard not to say that somehow or another Arthur's going to come up on top here.
Sorry, continue.
Oh, well, gee. I don't know. Maybe they'll like totally.
Who's
like,
the least
subvert my
person? Who's the
expectations.
least out of the servants and the masters? The servant master pair. What's the pair you least want to win?
Oh, hold on. Let me finish. Like maybe they'll completely subvert my expectations and like fucking Gilgamesh will take everything. I don't know. Like it's hard to say. What I hope happens is I hope Alexander convinces all the others
Join him.
to revolt against the Masters, and he leads an army of noble heroes to lead a new.
You're not wrong in some sense.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm happy for that little bit. I always like communist revolutions. So. Okay. Let's go ahead and go on to ratings for these first 5 episodes. I'll give the first 5 episodes of Fate Zero. Have I said anything negative besides them using the pronunciation of Excander?
The one kissing scene?
Yeah, neither of those things are enough for me to take anything away from it. I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5.
Woo!
Swords that also function as fucking jet engines.
So continue. Rasco.
I'll give this a 4.5 out of 5 because I really, really like it and I'm really hooked, but the first episode is scary to watch. If you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna watch this show, let's just casually start watching Fate Zero. Listen to all these rules! Rule number 1, rule number 2, rule number 3. It's just crazy. That's what I deduct a 0.5 off of for, but it's not a big deal.
What's your noun? Your 4.5 out of 5
Oh,
what?
4.5 out of 5. Long staffs, if you know what I mean. Long spears. Out of 5.
Okay, and Kieran, how about you?
What do you think? 5.
5 what?
5 noble phantasms that come out of noble phantasms.
Okay then. Once again, really fucking glad I don't have to visually represent things because that shit would get difficult.
That shit would get very...
Because I would have to just show a penis for Rasco's thing, and my video would get flagged.
Can I make a prediction on what I think you two will take out of the series?
Sure thing.
Ian, I think Ryder will become, if not one of your favourite characters in fiction, I think your favourite character by definition of this show. Like, I think a good chunk of when we ever talk about this, whether it be on another Geeky Gentleman episode, just me and you on a call, the majority of the talk will be you talking about Ryder. I can almost guarantee you that. I think there's another character you also really like, but not as much as Ryder. Rasco, I actually want to really say you'll like Lancer, but I know there's going to be many tears. How much do you like sad backstories, Rasco?
I think I like sad backstories. I mean, as much as I like any other backstory.
Do they make you cry sometimes?
If they're sad, yes.
If they're attached to a character you really like?
Yes.
Oh,
Why
you're
would I
gonna
not
be
be sad by
you're gonna be a fucking baby by the end of the series. Just crying. I want a really sad crying emoji off you, please. Just saying, this is my experience of Fate Zero. Just that. Just someone bawling their eyes out, or just record yourself bawling your eyes out. I don't know. Be great. But I think your favourite would be Lancer. Though, so you've actually shown no other interest, like major interest, other than Lancer. So I'm just gonna go off by Lancer.
Okay. Well, that'll do it for this installment of Geeky Gentleman History Month. Thank you everyone who tuned in. Next week we are starting Geeky Gentleman Holiday Month with a review of Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas on the 1st of December is how we're kicking it off. And then on Sunday, December the 4th, we're going to discuss representing Santa Claus on film. or not just on film, in fiction. So that should be fucking fascinating as all hell. So I hope everyone joins us for Holiday Month. I hope you had fun with History Month, and we're done, by and large, talking about politics for a while. So yeah. Alright everyone, thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I'm the Lancer.
Fuck it, I would say normally I'm the Wandering Samurai, but I'm motherfucking Saber.
And we're your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.